Kate from Sleep Time Baby. Today is day 1 of the 5-day sleep challenge. So very excited, here we are. I've been looking forward to this for obviously quite a while. I'm so pleased that everyone's joining in. We've got people on Facebook, on Instagram, people who are going to be watching this through the videos that I'm going to post on the email. So whatever the way that you're consuming it, welcome to the challenge. I'm really excited to kind of be sharing all the stuff with you. So I'm trying to be clever because, well, I'm trying, but basically what I'm doing is I'm recording live onto to Instagram and live onto Facebook as well. So I'm not able to kind of super interact. So if you've got kind of questions, I'll try and get to them afterwards. But at the moment, I just want to get the information out there so that you guys can get the right level for you. So today, day 1, is all about sleep education. So when I do these things, I try and look at people's problems and I try and work out what's going wrong, and I try and make sure that we're addressing it all. Now, when it comes to it, what I often find is that it's all about starting from the beginning. So the beginning and sleep education is kind of what I love sort of sharing with people. So I want you to know all about how to start and identify your child's sleep problem so that you can help fix them, because if you don't know what the problem is, you're not going to be able to fix it. So firstly, we need to start looking at that. However, first thing to talk about first, the importance of sleep. If you don't rank the importance of sleep, then I'm not sure why you'd be here, but really you need to know that sleep's so important for our development. It's so important for kind of our health and our energy. There are links between obesity, how we consume stuff, nutrition, wellness, everything. So make sure that as a parent you value sleep accordingly. So just because you're a parent doesn't mean you have to have rubbish sleep. You need to just understand your child's sleep needs to make it better if it's a problem for you. So in terms of kind of looking at the range of children that I'm probably going to be talking about, it's quite hard when you do one of these things, because you could have a tiny newborn and you could have maybe a 6-7-year-old child. So I'm going to try and make it so that you can adapt it. So whilst it's going to be general, there'll be tips and kind of things to handle it as we go through. So when you've got a kind of a younger child, so probably a child under the age of about 2 that you can't necessarily communicate directly with, then I want you to think of it as kind of trying to be consistent with your approach. So you can't sort of negotiate stuff with them necessarily, but you want to make sure that you're showing them kind of the signs. So understanding that from a younger child point of view is important. An older child, you want to be helping them through this in a way. You want to be seeing it as kind of your journey with them. So start talking about things, including them in things. If you've got older siblings, it's really important as well, because then you can help them as well to get on that journey with you. So yeah, younger children, it's about showing them and keeping consistent. Older children, definitely about being consistent, but also kind of working with them on it. Now, the first and most important thing to talk about from a sleep education point of view is sleep cycles. This is the thing I didn't understand. I didn't know about sleep cycles when my son was causing us loads of problems when he was around about 2.5. I didn't know that a child has a sleep cycle of 45 minutes, and I didn't know that at the end of that sleep cycle they wake up. So I want to tell you that so you understand it, because often that's the key thing. So a sleep cycle in a newborn is about 35 minutes long, and then at 4 months what happens is that sleep cycle gets longer and it gets into 45 minutes. So what happens is they go from awake into the light stage of sleep, then the next stage of sleep, which is also kind of REM type sleep, then into deep sleep, then back into a light stage sleep, and then at the end of it they wake up at this little moment of kind of consciousness. And what that moment does is that it gives them the potential to kind of wake. So as adults we have an hour and a half sleep cycles, but children it's kind of younger, and newborns it's even younger still. So what happens in that moment of wakefulness is that if they've had help to go to sleep in the first place, then potentially they can look for that thing that got them to go to sleep. So that's the thing, and the potential is really important word there, because they don't always wake through every sleep cycle. So what you kind of need to understand is if your child needs help to go to sleep in the first place, then they may need help to go back to sleep when they wake at the end of a sleep cycle. And that is the concept of self-settling. And that's why a lot of sleep consultants will talk about that, because that's how we look at addressing the issues. Now, if your child doesn't wake through those sleep cycles, don't worry about it. It's a great thing, and you don't need to kind of worry about it. So it's just something that you need to understand in terms of addressing it. So when, as a sleep consultant, we look to address things, we say, okay, how is a child going to sleep if they're waking up more frequently than they need? And we will talk about what normal looks like from a child's point of view, because it's really important that not everyone is going to sleep through the night from the first instance. So in terms of kind of working out what your problems might be, a sleep prop can be something that gets a child to go to sleep. So it could be a dummy, it could be rocking, it could be feeding, it could be holding mum or dad's hand, it could be a light show showing on the ceiling, it could be music that's playing and then kind of disappears after they've fallen asleep. All of these things are external influences that get a child to kind of go to sleep, and then they may not be there when they wake up. So what you need to do is think about how your child's falling asleep, and if that could be waking them up through the night more frequently than they need, because obviously some children may need to wake. If you've got a tiny baby, they need some food in the night time. So if you can identify that, it's about then eradicating that to make sure that then they're going to settle better. And we'll come to talk about kind of how to set your child up for self-settling and bedtime and everything as we kind of go through the week. But sleep props, really important to kind of think about it. Now, just really importantly as well, if your child has a sleep prop but sleeps well and you're fine with it, you don't need to change it. I'm not saying things need to be perfect. Your sleep needs to be good for you. That's what I'm saying, really. So make sure that you know that I'm not kind of trying to radicalise everything that you're doing. Just work out what you're trying to change. But the fact that you're here and watching this probably means that you're trying to make some improvements in the child's sleep. So that's the kind of the concept of sort of sleep cycles and sleep props. The other thing that we need to understand from a sleep education point of view is really about the body clock. So the body clock is called the circadian rhythm in sleep terms, and the circadian rhythm and the body clock are the way that we sort of act during the day. So if you've ever kind of woken up at the weekend, maybe before kids, when you don't need to, so because your alarm in the week is set to kind of wake up at 7 o'clock and you still wake up at 7 o'clock, that's because your body is used to waking up at that sort of time. And it's similar with children as well. So working with the body clock is really important to help them to kind of get into a good place in terms of settling. The other reason to do that is because there's a hormone called melatonin, which also the body clock works with. So melatonin is the sleepy hormone. It helps us to feel kind of sleepy at certain times of the day, and they are mainly in lines with perhaps naps. We'll talk about that around that time, but also in terms of when bedtime's kind of coming. So looking at kind of working with your body clock to help everything in that way is going to be kind of useful. So make sure you know that your body clock will be playing a part of how your child will settle. And then the other part of it is kind of looking at how what your child's needs are and understanding them. So different children have different sleep needs, they have different nutritional needs because of their ages. I'll pop in kind of the recommendations around kind of average sleep needs across the ages, but they vary so much. And their averages, and they have a variance within the age groups. Have a look for your child's age range and think about what that means in comparison to where you are right now. You want to probably be sitting somewhere in the middle, but there are differences for a reason. So don't worry about it if you're kind of wildly out there and you're still happy with your situation. So that might be the classic example where a child doesn't sleep very well in the day, but still sleeps really well at night, and therefore that's okay because they're doing okay. But if you've got kind of a low amount of sleep going on during a 24-hour period and they're really unsettled, then it's probably something you want to kind of address. So have a look at that, but remember these things are often averages and you need to interpret it from your child's sleep point of view. And the last thing I want to say for today from a kind of a sleep education point of view is, and really it'll go across the whole week, this is about your journey. This is not about me telling you exactly what to do. I want to make sure that you are clear on kind of the problems that you might be suffering from and how to identify those, and then tips and tricks to kind of help improve them. But it's not about kind of overnight sort of changing things. It's about making sure that you have the ability to do that. So it's your journey. I'm not going to be telling you exactly what to do and what point to do it. You need to kind of make sure that you're happy with making those changes. And also, it doesn't mean that you need to be kind of forcing things through. I will not be talking about how to make your child cry it out. I'll be talking about kind of what's the right kind of level of interaction and right kind of approach is going to be for you. So the last thing to leave you on is that, did you know that it was also Safer Sleep Week this week? I mean, great timing. I actually didn't know that. But Safer Sleep Week is a promotion by the Lullaby Trust, and it's kind of done to kind of make sure that you guys have the best information out there around how to sleep safely with your child. So their campaign this year is all about kind of safe co-sleeping, because we know that it happens. It's just about how you can put your child in the right and the safest place to be doing that. So I'll be sharing some details about that. But that's it for day 1. This is all about sleep education. So hopefully today you've learned all about sleep cycles, the body clock, and the use of kind of props and what might be causing your problem. So maybe have a go through your log if you've been logging it. Have a look at kind of what's been happening and maybe see if you can identify what kind of could have been causing your issues if you've got a prop in play. So I'm going to leave you now. I'm going to go back and prep my talk for tomorrow, and I will see you then. So I will catch you soon. Thanks very much for joining me. Take care. Bye bye.